what do we do about the person who realizes that he's going to get paid the same,
Right.
whether he's doing a hard day's work or a light day of looking like he's working hard? I mean, how do you differentiate? You don't differentiate. They get paid the same. So you get the same labor voucher. So ultimately, what?
You know what you do with those people?
Well, you take them to a gulag. That's
they
but only in
disappear.
fake.
That's what
only
happens to
in
those
fake.
people.
Only in fake communism. We're talking about real communism, where everybody's happy.
Hey, where'd Jim go? Oh man, he's just disappeared, man.
Jim took a break. Never came back.
Did they tell him we don't get breaks? Okay, we're back again for number 6.
All right, number 6. Here we go. It's 5 in the books.
we passed 5.
Yes, we passed 5.
Strangely enough.
Yes.
So anyway, so it seems like we're getting a lot more subscribers now, so thank you very much. And we would really appreciate it if you would comment, like, dislike, disagree, agree. Any comment would be appreciated. And we also appreciate our Twitter followers. We have, I think, 1,000 now, over 1,000 now. So thank you very much. And, tweet.
Yes, please tweet.
All right. So you were saying something about collectivism versus capitalism.
Right. So I was watching a Prager video, Man on the Street. They were asking about the wonders of socialism, a la Venezuela. And of course, the people that he was interviewing, maybe there was a bunch of them that said that Venezuela is a living hell. I don't know. But the ones that were in the video, they were all saying that we should have more income equality, just like Venezuela.
Should we model ourselves more like a Venezuela to become more income equal?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, economically, it would be nice because it would be even for all.
I do think that we should model after them, and I do think that we should look at what they're doing.
I feel like that would be a better plan.
Than the one we have today in America.
Yeah. I feel like
as an Hispanic, you have a good sense about stuff.
Yeah.
If we all give a little bit, and become a little bit more socialist, that's how we do it,
If you got to wait in line for stuff, we should all wait in line together.
Right.
Essentially.
We all have less, everybody has more.
You can think of it like that.
A lot like the rest of the world, which is a lot more dignified than us.
And then I got involved in the conversation. Somebody was asking, hey, does that mean that somebody who should get paid, a doctor should get paid the same as a garbage man? And I said, no, that means everybody gets paid the same, even the people that don't work. In which case, then apparently that just attracted the socialists, because they were out to get me like flies on a rib roast. So I said, people that are unwilling to work should get paid the same or whatever. And somebody says, oh, you're moving the goalpost. And I say, well, that's not really a shift. I'm not moving the goalpost at all. I'm just saying that's what it means. Everyone gets the same, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. I mean, that's the whole plan.
Right.
So I said, well, how are you gonna force people to work? I mean, what are they gonna maybe put them into labor camps or something like that? And then it all devolved from there. It just got bad. It just got worse and worse. I guess what I'm looking for now is the takeaway. I mean, for my 2 things. And we'll link somehow to it if people want to see the text. I'll link to that video in the description or what have you. And you can scroll down through 225 roughly replies if you want to see what I wrote. But I wanted to get your take on the mule analogy that I used. And also I'd like to address this last answer that somebody gave me about the wonders of socialism. because in a communist and a socialist society, there is no money. So apparently they use labor vouchers instead. So, and I'm assured that labor vouchers are not the same thing as money.
Somebody has to explain to me what that is, because that's what money is, right? I mean,
the best way to think about labor vouchers is as a kind of certificate, proof that labor has been done, rather than any kind of medium of exchange. The actual reason they're not currency is quite simple. They don't circulate. They're destroyed on use, so therefore they don't accumulate. Again, they're just certificates. They're like goddamn vouchers you can buy at clothes shops or whatever. I mean, hence the name labor vouchers. So how exactly do these work in the socialist society? Well, when someone carries out social labor, that being labor that society needs and is useful to society, they receive in exchange for that labor the labor vouchers to show they've actually done it. They can then trade in this certificate to attain any kind of luxury they may need that is equal to the labor that they've done.
that was the whole purpose of money.
Unlike wages, you get more vouchers, more you work. That's how you phrased it. A communist country has no currency.
Okay, so the more you work, the more vouchers you get, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what do you use the vouchers for?
Well, obviously, you use them to buy stuff.
I don't understand. Like, what? Okay, so now I have all of these labor vouchers. Okay,
Right.
So
Yes.
I like trade them in for what? For like somebody wash my car or what?
I would think that somebody washing a car would already gain labor vouchers, because as I understand it, and this comes out later on when I got the response to my personal property is allowed, private property is not. What the hell does that mean?
What's the difference?
Private property is property which is used to accumulate profit. This can include such examples: a road, a limousine, a railroad, a factory, a restaurant, a production studio, a forest, a lake, oh hell, a mountain. So now we must ask, what is personal property? Personal property is, to put it simply, the things you own, including your house, your car, your camera, your TV, your computer, your bed, your oven, and yes, your toothbrush.
So, given this new enlightening information about the wonders of the cashless society that is communism, I know this is going to be a hard conversation because we're both playing on the same team here,
Right.
but just to, I don't know. I don't think anybody can be devil's advocate on this. I just don't know. What are your thoughts on the cashless society? What are your thoughts on capitalism versus socialism, and why would capitalism work, or has it?
Okay. That's a lot of that's a big topic. Cashless society. I think cashless society does not exist. It's impossible. I don't think, no matter what you want to call it a labor voucher, IOU, whatever you want to call it, somebody will invent a form of cash. In fact, that's where cash came from, was from IOUs. Somebody gave an IOU, which then they were able to, cash in somewhere else, and then that person now owned that IOU, and then that IOU then they can still cash in that IOU from the original guy, and then it just ended up being, it just ended up eventually evolving into money. So I think that, even if there was no, like, let's say it was all done through your, IOU app, there was no actual cash, given from one person to another, you'd still have to find a way to track all your IOUs, right? I mean, so, or even if it wasn't on an app, it was just word of mouth, you'd still have to go, okay, you know what, Bob over there, the blacksmith, I mowed his lawn the other day, so he told me that he would, make me a sword or something, so, but I don't need a sword right now, so I'm just going to remember that for next time, and then maybe that guy over there, I need my, roof fixed. So I say, you know what, this guy, Bob the blacksmith over here, I have an IOU from him, so, instead of me, owing you from, fixing my roof, you can just, if you need a sword, he's going to make a sword for me. I mean, it's just, eventually somebody's just going to go, you know what, it would just make more sense if we just have something written down. And then it becomes cash. I mean, you can't get away from it.
Unless you had labor vouchers.
Which is still cash, right? I mean,
but no, because apparently they don't cycle between people. So, okay, the government gives you a labor voucher.
Okay.
Assuming that, because where else are you going to get them if they're not cycling between people? So a person couldn't give it to you. It has to come from the government.
Right.
And then you give it to the baker for a loaf of bread, and then he gives it back to the government. Because he gets his own for baking the bread, ostensibly.
Okay.
So it's not the same. Obviously, it's vastly different.
Vastly.
Because here's the wonder of cash, right? The wonder of cash is the prices are all set kind of automatically, right? By you going in there and they say, well, that's going to be 5 labor vouchers. And you're like, screw that. I'm not paying 5 labor vouchers for a loaf of bread. I need 2 of them to get a roll of toilet paper. And right? And then you get prices then set, right? Okay, right. Well, then I have to come down if I want to sell my bread.
Right.
Right? And then we all meet in that happy middle, with the invisible hand and blah, blah.
Right.
And it all works.
In the 18th century, Adam Smith used the metaphor of an invisible hand to describe how individuals making self-interested decisions can collectively and unwittingly engineer an effective economic system that is in the public interest. This is how the invisible hand is usually understood today. When there's plenty of grain on the market, sellers drop their prices to make sales. When it gets scarcer, the price rises and the financial incentive for growing it or importing it gets stronger. The individual buyers, sellers, growers and importers don't set out to act for the public good. They just go about their business thinking about their own gains and losses, buying wherever they can to get the best deal. But out of their self-interested choices in a free market, an efficient economy emerges.
It all works.
Right.
So instead, we're going to have Big Daddy Government. He's going to come in and he's going to tell you how much your labor is worth, right? And then he's going to give you the voucher and he's going to tell you how much the voucher's worth when it comes to buying whatever your commodity might be. And then I'm also assured that you can have personal property but not private property. And I still don't know what the hell that means. I can't wrap my mind around it, man. I cannot get my head to, when I heard about the labor voucher, that's what threw me off. I was on my game and everything was good, but then he throws out this labor voucher, and I was just like, "Are you an idiot?" I had to step back because I typically don't want to be, what's the word? Pedantic.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking the exact same word. My gosh, that's crazy.
But I couldn't. I could not stop myself. I'm just like, really? Labor voucher? What is it? Going to have a picture of Lenin on it? What exactly is? I had to step back.
Well, I think before we can actually have a intelligent discussion about labor vouchers, somebody would have to actually explain it to us, what it is and how it works and all that, and how it's different from actual cash. Because I'm trying to, figure it out in my own head, and I can't figure out how it's any different from cash. So,
well, I think the main difference is that there is no free market. Without a free market, the prices are set, by the government, by the council, by the Soviet, right? Or the syndicate, I guess, if you're into anarcho-capitalism.
Yeah, well, okay, so let's say a loaf of bread is set at like two labor dollars or labor vouchers. Yeah. So I guess then you're the baker and you get paid exactly the same amount as the whatever else it is, blacksmith or whatever, right? So you're getting paid by the government, the labor vouchers.
Or the people. You're getting paid by the people.
Okay.
Because I heard that there wasn't supposed to be a government in communism either. Just some a government that does some administrative things like tell you what the vouchers are worth.
Right. There'd have to be administration. And I think communism in that sense may work in a very, very small group. But once you start to get into a place like Russia, for instance...
they weren't communist. Not real communist.
Okay.
They were the fake kind of communist.
Okay. What's real? Okay. Where has there been real communism then?
It's never been tried, duh.
All I'm saying is that
because Legs Sibdi or whatever, he hasn't been in charge.
All I'm saying is that once you start to get into giant countries with huge tracts of land,
she's beautiful, she's rich, she's got huge tracts of land,
and and lots and lots of people. It takes more than just like one bureaucrat. You know what I mean? The bureaucracy would be gigantic, and then there would have to be a power structure, because...
Well, you'd have to have a little extra bureaucracy to eliminate corruption.
Exactly.
I heard about that too, also in the same conversation.
Oh my... This guy, that's so...
well, it's a different person.
This is the problem with communism and communists. It's so idealistic, right? I mean, I'm sure that they can come up with all kinds of solutions to every problem that could possibly arise in communism on some theoretical level.
No.
But whether or not that's even possibly practical in any sense, it hasn't ever worked. So,
and it never will work. While you say it's idealistic, it's beyond idealistic because there is a huge flaw in the whole thing. The fly in the ointment is it involves humans,
right?
And as long as it involves humans, then the only way socialism or communism can possibly work is if everybody has the exact same desire. Which is that everyone else should do better than they do. And as long as there's no selfishness at all, then it could work. But you're hoping that humanity will just all of a sudden abandon its concupiscence and I'll just hold hands and do a maypole. I don't think that's going to work, man.
Yeah, and that's I mentioned this to a leftist once, and I said that it's not part of the human condition because we have a survival instinct, and the survival instinct also makes us want to achieve, and all it takes is a couple people who want to achieve for it to mess up the entire communist structure.
You're talking about, yeah, that's there's those people that want to achieve, and of course we have to hate them. But let's not forget about the people who don't want to achieve. Let's not forget about those people that realize. I said this in the text there, if anybody wants to read it. But what do we do about the person who realizes that he's going to get paid the same,
right?
Whether he's doing a hard day's work or a light day of looking like he's working hard. I mean, how do you differentiate? You don't differentiate. They get paid the same. So you get the same labor voucher. So ultimately, what?
You know what you do with those people?
Well, you take them to a gulag. That's
they
but only in fake.
That's what
only
happens to
in
those
fake.
people.
Only in fake communism. We're talking about real communism, where everybody's happy.
Hey, where'd Jim go? Oh man, he's just disappeared, man.
Jim took a break. Never came back.
Did they tell him we don't get breaks? Yeah, man.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't get it.
I am actually much more afraid. We're talking about a threat of a real government that might be that might overthrow or overtake capitalist governments. I'm actually more afraid of theocracies.
Here in the United States?
Maybe not. Well, just in general. Because, see, you're talking about how communism will work if everybody has the same belief system, and that actually happens in theocracies. You get a country where everybody believes the same thing, and they all focus on that one religious ideal, whatever it is, and so then it becomes a de facto collective. So, and then it's easy at that point to just get everybody to do the same thing, because it's all for the good of, or it's all because it was ordered by a deity.
I disagree wholeheartedly. I think that socialism in our universities, socialism being taught in our schools, right down to kindergarten. These are the things that scare me. I feel like socialism, socialist programs, I feel like it's the kudzu of ideology, right? Because it just creeps in and starts choking out what is naturally there, and what's naturally here in the United States is the thoughts of our founding fathers. The Enlightenment ideals that each person will make great decisions for the society if he's making good decisions for himself and his family. I think that we're giving those rights away piece by piece, and I have only ever seen that grow. And the two ideologies that we're talking about, socialism and Islam, they are pretty much mutually exclusive. They share enough to share an inroad, right? But they don't share the ideologies, right? There's no way they can be compatible,
right?
When one of them wants to take power, and I think socialism is the one that's got the foothold, and I think that they're shooting for that. They're shooting to eliminate our personal freedoms that way. So
Okay.
that's kind of a down note, I think.
Well, I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I think that ultimately, the vast majority of Americans still hold on to the American ideals that we had from the beginning. And I just think that we don't hear about it that much because it doesn't. Who wants to hear news about people who, just love the country? I mean, it doesn't sell newspapers.
I love that. It warms my heart.
I know you do, but what I mean is that anything that is scary or sensational, that's what gets the ratings. So yeah, I mean, we like to hear the patriotic stories. Yeah, absolutely. But CNN's rating spikes every time there's a hurricane. You know what I mean? So whenever we hear about terrorism, or we hear about people marching for socialism, and that kind of stuff, that stuff gets in the news and is front page. So then we then think, oh my gosh, that's what's happening all over the country all the time, which I think is it's still a very, very small percentage, and that the vast majority of people are very, very patriotic, and still believe in the ideals that we were founded on. So why else would we have a Trump presidency?
I mean, I hope you're right. I don't know. We'll see.
So, all right. Are we gonna do French today?
French. I think we should do French. Should do French. Probably the last language I actually know. No, there's one other.
So French, right? What is it? Au revoir.
It is au revoir. It is au revoir. So we're not going to talk about Carmen.
Carmen, yes, absolutely. Let's talk about it.
Okay, because
George Bizet.
George Bizet, yes, say.
Monsieur Bizet.
Yeah. So he wrote Carmen, and for the longest time that was my favorite opera.
It's not anymore?
No, it's not actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What is your favorite now?
It's Fidelio.
Oh wow, older one,
yes.
Wow.
And you almost never see a performance of it anymore. It's so rare to see that. But that one changed my whole outlook. Well, Carmen got me into opera, right, and it changed my whole outlook on it. And then it shifted again when I saw Fidelio. So that just blew my mind. Fidelio is about it's about a political prisoner, and and his wife trying to free him, from this political prison. Really impressive, and And when they stage the performances of Fidelio, they do it in like the attire of today, the modern attire. Whenever it happens to be staged, that's the outfit. They don't try to put it back into the 18th century. Was it 18th century? Yeah, I guess it was. Anyway, so that was interesting. And Carmen, that's about a bullfighter and a harlot and this soldier. This what really spoke to me here was about a soldier who loses his way and falls in love with the wrong woman. Pretty impressive. I would recommend both of those and watch them in that order: Carmen and then Fidelio. And then if you wanted to look at any of the other operas that are painted in the Chagall ceiling of the Opera of Paris, then by all means go for it. But both of my two favorites are up there, so I thought that was pretty cool.
And creating perhaps his greatest musically inspired work, The Ceiling of the Paris Opera House, dramatically reproduced in the exhibit.
Look at you, man. You're such an elitist.
I am. And striving for more.
The Chagall ceiling at the opera, the Paris Opera House. Oh,
I don't actually. Yeah.
We all wish we were there.
Gosh, I hope it actually was Chagall and it wasn't like Mile or something. I don't know.
Did you know that the Paris Conservatory only graduates one person a year? Only one person gets to graduate a year at the Paris Conservatory.
I did know that. You know how I knew that? Because you told me that. You told me that because my favorite composer, you said, didn't graduate, and I was a little miffed.
And that would be?
Ravel.
Oh, yes, that's
Ravel. Right. That no talent hack.
Well, I mean, he only has really one piece that anybody knows, so.
Is it Alborada del Gracioso?
No, it's not. It's
Pavant pour un enfant de foot.
That's right.
Oh, Rhapsody Espanol.
You know what I'm talking about, okay? Just because you like Ravel a lot,
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
They made a movie out of it with Bo Derek.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. It was about Ravel's life, I'm sure, right?
I don't think so. But they did use it in another movie. They did use the piece in another movie with Bo Derek in it.
10.
That's right.
Like, was there more than just the bathing suit running scene? I don't remember it.
In the braids. All I remember from that scene are the braids, man.
Yeah, I'm sure that's all I remember too.
I think Baywatch actually took inspiration from that scene.
Baywatch was a weekly installment of that scene.
with different
with Knight Rider.
How did we get to Bo Derek? Oh, that's right, Bolero. That's right.
This is devolving fast. Perhaps we should just say au revoir.
Okay. Au revoir.